Hey, we're cooking with gas here. On the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakkenaf van Jan.
Nebbig.
Ver poepoepoe.
Vermischt.
Verkakt.
Vertutst.
Verstonken.
Fartig.
Exactly.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Ta-da! Just like that, episode 75, guys. Here we go, American Jew. Yeah.
Here we are, 75. Thanks to everybody who's been with us on this journey. I'm Jonathan Randall.
I am Jordon Ferber, and let me just say, I'm excited that we're still doing this, and that there's still so much to talk about, unfortunately. It's a good and a bad.
You're excited that there's unfortunate things to talk about.
Yeah, I guess I am excited about having to be able, being able to talk about some of the stuff no one else is really talking about.
I love your enthusiasm, but I feel like you open up each show with how excited you are.
Well, shouldn't we start with a little bit of a high energy, considering some of the terrible shit we're about to talk about?
Well, some of it is terrible, and some of it's really not terrible, but people are making it out to be terrible.
Yeah, I guess. So I guess we'll start out with, we could start talking about Umbrella Academy. Second season is out.
Right. It's a Netflix show based on a comic book by Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. I'm a fan of the show. I watched both seasons.
I'm halfway through the second season. I'm loving it. Apparently, one of the bad guys speaks Yiddish in both seasons, and that is problematic for some viewers.
People on Twitter are claiming it's anti-Semitic. Jewish organizations are claiming it's anti-Semitic. I do not think it's anti-Semitic at all. They're saying because she is the villain, she's the head of a secret organization that controls the time, it's feeding into Jewish stereotypes that,
right. Because she enjoys
cabal.
Because she enjoys a schwitz.
Yeah, that's one of the Yiddish words she used, schwitz. She used meshugana, which I feel like lots of non-Jewish people use those words. I feel like those aren't very special words. They're also saying because they mention lizard people and they mention the word cabal, but it's just so you can't say lizard people without people going Jews, anti-Semitism. That's just not true. This is, I feel like, a case of the boy who cried anti-Semitism. And this is the sort of thing that needs to stop because it's really diluting when real anti-Semitism is happening, when every time there's something that comes up that someone deems as anti-Semitic, they're like, oh, it's anti-Semitic, when it isn't anti-Semitic. The creators didn't intend anti-Semitism. Jordan, to be honest with you, I think it's cool that she speaks Yiddish.
I agree. And second of all, the guy that created the show is Jewish. He came out and said, yeah, I'm a Jew. Don't be stupid.
Then we'll be like, oh, there's not enough Jewish representation in the media. And then when there is, we'll be like, oh, but it's anti-Semitic. This isn't anti-Semitic. I'm sorry. It's a stretch. I even made a video about it, and I asked my followers what they thought, and I got hundreds and hundreds of comments all saying, this is absolutely crazy. This is not anti-Semitic. If you're going to say this is anti-Semitic, then from now on is every antagonist anti-Semitic is one comment that I actually kind of got a little chuckle out of.
Right. Well, also, the guy that created also goes out of his way to point out that she also speaks Swedish and German. She speaks 8 languages throughout the series. So
yeah, she speaks every language. She speaks all the languages.
Yeah.
Yiddish is just one of them, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe if she would have invited the Umbrella Academy over for Shabbat dinner, I'd be like, okay, maybe this is a little shady. But just because she says, yeah, they're in a sauna and she's talking about schwitzing, it's just such a reach. And you know what? There's so much anti-Semitism happening.
There are already plenty of people that are making up shit to be anti-Semitic. We don't need to add fuel to that fire.
You're right.
Brings us
People
to our next topic,
up...
the Anti-Defamation League. Pointing out the fact that even though people are, Facebook and Twitter and some of these other media companies have said that they're going to crack down on hate speech and hate groups that are online, they are not.
No, they are not. Not only are there a number of white supremacists, anti-Semitic groups on Facebook, but what I found particularly appalling was that Facebook recommends these groups. Facebook will be like, oh, maybe you'd be interested in this anti-Semitic group, which is just insane and crazy.
What's even crazier is that because Facebook came out with all these different rules about how they're supposedly cracking down on it, the people in these groups are like, oh, okay, so don't report any of these stories, otherwise you get booted from the group because we have to keep the group alive. You can't report anything. If you don't like what we're writing, just scroll past it. They've found a way to circumvent.
Are they?
Yeah, they've found ways to circumvent the privacy issues so that they don't get taken down.
Well, this has become like a real big issue as of late, where people don't think they're doing enough to monitor and remove bigotry, hatred, anti-Semitism, homophobia, and I have to agree.
And these groups are really coming up with, these were groups that were already spouting a lot of conspiracy theories, not just about the Jews, but about deep state secret groups within the government controlling everything, which did include Jews. The fact that these groups, the pandemic has really sort of exploded a lot of their conspiracies. They've got so many extra ones now.
Yeah, now that people have so much extra time to be online, they're using that time, unfortunately, to spread anti-Semitism on the internet.
I don't understand how the Jews have we have how much power we actually seem to have in these conspiracy theories.
I know. We started alternate side parking again. It's crazy. Anti-Semitism is going crazy all over the world. A study in the UK recently showed that when it comes to British Muslims, 44% of them believe in anti-Semitic Jewish conspiracy. And in my opinion, that's all because of Israel and Palestine.
Well, for sure, the tensions in the Middle East definitely inform or subvert some of the ways that we think about the relations between Jews and Muslims and the rest of the world, around the world, for sure. I think it's hard to be somebody that identifies with one of those groups that is fighting in the Middle East and only getting part of the story.
Absolutely. And, the people just, have all these concepts and ideas that are just totally false. And, religion isn't the reason why there is a conflict. It's not about religion. People want you to believe it's about religion. It's not. It's about land and nationality. That's why there's a problem in the Middle East. It's not a Jew-Muslim thing. And in fact, in my opinion, Israel has kind of made it more about religion.
Well, yeah, Israel definitely perpetuates the fact that it's the Jews that own Israel. We don't do a great service to ourselves by making that insistence all the time.
No, and definitely, most of the people in Israel are Jews. But before Israel, when it was part of the Ottoman Empire, Jews and Arabs, Palestinians, they lived together peacefully. There weren't any problems. The problem started more in the 19th century. People want to be like, oh, this is a 2,000-year-old problem. It isn't. It isn't a 2,000-year-old problem. People always want to bring the Bible into it, but it's really not. It's really a problem that started over land, and really, 1948 is when things really got bad.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that, there are a lot of rabbinical scholars that have believed for years that, the land of Israel is the land of milk and honey that was promised to the Jews in the Bible. So regardless of where you fall on whether or not the Bible is the literal word of God or the fiction that has been written over the years, that many of us believe. I think it's still a part. Israel is a part of the Jewish religion as well our homeland for the Jews. So it gets complicated.
My views are that religion is bullshit. It is just created to control people. Most people don't even pick their religions. People are basically the religion of where their great grandfather was born. And that's crazy to me, to have your whole belief system based around something that you've had no part in deciding. You just were born it, and that's it, and that's why you believe it.
But Judaism has a cultural component to it that is the religion and the cultural aspects, I think, are so closely tied that it is hard to understand one without the other.
We're not religious, either of us, at all, and we participate in some cultural traditions, but it's more, I think, about community. It is more about culture. It's more about what the Jews have been through as a people, being persecuted throughout history.
Well, that's part of where the Bible comes in. I think that, bringing some of that stuff and teaching kids about the origins of their Judaism that goes all the way back. I think it's hard to tell that story. These stories get watered down.
Stories. That's what they are. They're just stories.
These stories get watered down the less you tell them, I think. It's hard to how do you identify as a Jew without understanding the historical perspective, even if it is through a flawed text that is taken literally by some and as parables by others. I think it's.
I mean, I don't consider the Bible a historical text.
I'm just saying, you and I were both bar mitzvahed. We were brought up understanding, or at least given the opportunity to understand the religious aspects. And I don't have kids. You don't have kids. But I mean, to what degree would you raise kids with those same understandings? I mean, how do you hand that information down to the next generation? And I think that if you come to it the way that you and I have come to an understanding that it's kind of bullshit, and there are still elements of the family and cultural touch points that we relate to that relate directly to the religious parts too. I don't know. I think it's at what point do you make that stuff a part of the fabric of somebody's identity as you bring them up, like to let them know where they come from.
Hey, I mean, I'd like to say they make great bedtime stories, but they really don't, because those kids will be terrified.
Yeah.
Never be able to fall asleep. I've been watching the show Fauda, and it's about Israel and Palestinian conflict, and the Palestinians, Hamas, when they refer to Israel and Israelis, they call them Jews. They always call them Jews, and that bothers me so much. I know that most Israelis are Jews, but not all Jews are Israelis.
Yeah.
And I really feel like we need to differentiate that.
Well, let's talk for a minute about this guy, Ronald Lauder, who I hadn't really heard the name much before, probably in passing, but he is what they say is he is arguably the de facto leader of the Jewish world currently.
That's right. He's the president of the World Jewish Congress.
Yep.
He has done so much for Judaism over the years. You want to give some of his greatest hits?
Well, first of all, his last name Lauder is part of the Estee Lauder cosmetics giant. So he comes from money, but he worked in the Pentagon, and in the 80s, Ronald Reagan sent him to Austria to be the American ambassador, and he kind of felt like just an assimilated American Jew. He didn't really identify so much as a Jew as he did as an American at that time. And when he was in Vienna, he realized how many Jewish schools were really sort of picking up the slack to teach Jewish kids from around the world more about their Jewish heritage. And in doing so, also created these kindergartens and other school programs that just created better education across the board for a lot of Jewish communities.
Tons for education of the Jewish children in Central and Eastern Europe.
He's also been a part of a group that spearheaded a whole campaign to get art and jewelry and other things that the Nazis looted from Jewish families during the Holocaust and get them back to their original owners or to the heirs of their original owners. And so that's good to have. He's been sort of thrust into the limelight again to, I think, help bridge the gap between what you're talking about, Jews and Israelis, because I think that he says this thing that we say a lot, which is that if Israel is allowed to just take over everything, it will create more anti-Semitism around the world. And
absolutely, he says that we need to have the two-state solution. We need to have it now. That all that's happening is anti-Semitism is spreading more because of not giving Palestinians what is rightfully theirs.
Yeah. I mean, and he also says, which I found to be, I think it's one of the things that I took away the most from this article that came out in the Jewish Chronicle, is about how he says that, in their teachings, it's not necessarily that you have to adhere completely to the scripture. He says they don't have to know every word of the Torah, but it's important that you teach kids the joys and responsibilities of being a Jew. And I think that's important, to understand the cultural significance of your heritage rather than adhere specifically to the religious aspects of it.
Well, definitely knowing about the Holocaust, I think, is very important, and knowing, about the Jewish struggle I think it's good to know about all religions, all these things, you know? I think that to be more educated, more informed is what's important.
Yeah, but I think that one of the things that a lot of people talk about, and that I have a hard time figuring out where I fall on this particular spectrum, but the more assimilated you get into a different culture versus the culture you grew up with. So if you're, it gets watered down. I think.
I disagree. This is what he's saying. He's like, if people get away from the religious aspect in a couple generations, like what are they really going to have to do with Judaism? But from my own experience, my cousin, for one, no one in my family really was religious except for my father. My cousin, her mother didn't really care much for Judaism. Her grandmother didn't really care much for Judaism. She wants to move to Israel, and she does know that it's part of her roots and part of her heritage. And I just think what Judaism can become is something amazing that doesn't have to do with religion. It doesn't have to do with Israel either.
Right, but you have to work at what it is that you're trying to achieve. I think if you just let it be, it takes its own course.
One thing that I don't agree with Mr. Lauder is that he thinks that a lot of Jews don't really see it as a religion, as a culture, and he calls them Jinnos, Jews in name only. And I mean, I guess, so am I a Jinno? Because I have a podcast about Judaism. I speak out about antisemitism, with my videos regularly. I'm very informed. I'm very educated. I'll have a Seder. I'll eat some apples and honey on Rosh Hashanah. I'll bring everybody I know to Katz's Deli. So I think, what a Jew is, who is a Jew. There's a lot of that going on right now. When Nick Cannon got called out, that we're not the real Jews. Africans are the real Jews. Who's the real Jew? You're a real Jew. You're not a real Jew. I'm a real Jew. Your mom wasn't a Jew. We've talked about this. If you want to be Jewish and you think there's beauty in Judaism and it does something for you, be Jewish. That's all it matters. That's all it takes. You don't need to go pray 3 times a day. You don't need to make Aliyah and move to Israel. All you have to do is have a love and appreciation for the culture, the religion, and that's it. And you could be a Jew.
I mean, I like that standpoint.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah. That's why I always think it's important that we have this podcast, and it's always good when we bring other perspectives into the fold. How do you like that for a segue?
Sounds good.
We're going to bring on comedian Elon Altman, and let's see what he has to say about all this. How Jewish does he identify? Yes, finally, welcome to the show, comedian Elon Altman. Hello, sir.
Hello, Jordan. Hello, Jonathan. How you guys doing? Mazel tov.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Elon is a New York-based comedian, a very great joke writer, and a Jew.
That's right. I've been outed as a Jew. I thought I had a really good Hollywood name that no one could ever tell I was Jewish, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
You should just start saying you're Robert Altman's kid.
He's my uncle.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a different Robert Altman.
It's
Robert Altman, the antique dealer.
Robert Altman, the antique dealer. Still a good guy to know.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, especially if you're doing some interior designing.
Yeah, definitely. He's a man. He once designed for Cindy Crawford.
Ooh la la.
I mean, at least that's the story he tells you.
Yeah, I think he just broke into her house and took some pictures.
I really loved Cindy Crawford when I was younger, and I had some, I guess, like risky posters, pictures of her on my wall, and my father did not approve, and he did not think that they were schnees, which is a Jewish term for modesty, and he tore them all down.
Oh, no.
You should have just drawn a long skirt on her.
Yeah, right? That'd have been a good idea. Drew a long skirt, a little mug and David, and like a wig.
Yeah.
Jonathan loves the shikses.
And she's eating a bagel. Hey, I'm trying. One of the girls I'm sleeping with now is Jewish, Jordan, in your face.
All right. Well, we're not here to talk about your sex life or my lack of one.
All right. But let's talk more about Elon and his connection with Judaism.
Nice Jewish boy from Brooklyn, right?
No, I'm from the Lower East Side.
Oh, Lower East Side. Why did I think Brooklyn?
I don't know. You got bad
info
over there.
LES is great. It's super Jewish. That's where so many Jewish immigrants that originally came to New York. Were your like grandparents living in like a tenement?
Yeah, so my grandparents were all born here on the Lower East Side between like 1915 and 1930, basically, and living in tenements and then eventually moving up to slightly better housing. But yeah, my great-grandparents came here, so my family's been in this neighborhood for over 100 years. And my grandmother, she's 91. She still lives down the block.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So some of the things that your uncle, as an antique dealer, he might have bought them new at one point.
Yeah, he was a hoarder.
So Lower East Side, are you excited about this new Seth Rogen movie that just came out?
Well, let me tell you, my family, on my mom's side, we were in the pickle business.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so we had a pickle stand, my great-uncle, called Greenfield Pickles. And that was there until the 60s. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm excited that there's a pickle movie. I hope that they keep it authentic.
Okay.
You hope they don't badmouth your family's business in there.
Yeah, hopefully the moral isn't like that pickles are a dirty business.
Well, that's what the anti-Semites are going to say.
If this is a pickle hit piece, I'm going to be very angry.
Do you go to the Pickle guys now a lot?
Yeah, I like Pickle guys. That's good. I used to go to Gus's once in a while. I guess they split off from Gus's or something. Is the story?
Did
Yeah,
you?
They had a rift.
Pickle guys.
Did you hear Rogan's interview with Maron talking about his Jewish identity?
Well, I read an article about it, and I didn't like that. It seemed very, I don't know. I don't like when it gets so, I feel like things should stay in the family. When you put something out there, like in a very big thing where you're criticizing, like, relationship to Israel and things like that and making it sound really bad, I think that is, I don't know. I think it gets taken out of context too much.
That does seem
So how do you feel about Israel?
I like Israel.
You like Israel?
Yeah.
All right. That's a very straightforward answer. I like Israel. And so growing up, did you have a strong connection to Judaism?
Yeah, my dad, my dad went to yeshiva, but all of us, me and my siblings, just went to public school, and we never like went to synagogue that much, but we would go to an Orthodox shul when we did go. So it was kind of this weird thing where we had like, he liked to instill the Jewish identity, and we would learn certain customs that you do in like Orthodox Judaism, but we also were like non-practicing.
Mm.
So it's kind of confusing. Like we would go to services on the high holidays, and of course it's all in Hebrew, and our original rabbi used to speak in Yiddish also. So he'd do the sermon in like half Yiddish, half English. So it was all this stuff. I had no idea what was happening, but to me, this was still like the best way to go to shul was to never know what's happening. And like later on when I go to like a reform service, I would be like, what is this? Why are they talking in English? What's going on here?
I liked it better when I didn't understand anything.
Yeah, it was more mystical that way. It was like, wow, this is like an ancient language, and they're singing and things that I don't understand at all, but it looked really cool, and all the guys were wearing black hats. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because I had the opposite experience where I grew up going to Orthodox, and then when I was older and I went to like a reform, and they had like a band, and the rabbi's playing the guitar, and I'm like, this is so much more fun.
Well, maybe if I went to a reform shul where the guitar was played better, I would have liked it more.
How about now? What is your relationship with Judaism like?
It's kind of the same thing. We'll still go for like high holidays to the same shul that we've been going to our whole lives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Former member of that shul was Bugsy Siegel, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew how to
in fact,
get...
his plaque, a lot of the when you passed, they put up a little plaque for you of if you were like a member of the shul. And so his plaque him and his brother's is right behind where we sit because we're in the back row.
Nice.
So
that's very cool.
So the good seats are in the back.
Yeah, for us, our family has always sat in the back forever, just because I think we're like not as pious as the other Jews. So we kind of like being a little bit behind and being able to slack off a bit.
And you want to be able to get out and beat the traffic.
Well, it's walking distance, but yeah, in theory.
I like it. Jordon brings like the whole thing. Like we'll park near the exit. We might have to walk a long way, but we'll be the first one out.
And I'm like, driving to shul? That can't work.
You're married, Elon, right?
Yeah.
Is your wife Jewish?
Yeah, she's Jewish, and she's from Florida, and went to like reform shuls.
Was that something that you considered when you were dating or before you got married, or her being Jewish?
Yeah, I mean, I was on J-date when I met her, so.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
that's
a hard
natural.
yes.
I know my parents approve of that, and it would be a little bit harder to convince them otherwise.
Oh, really? They wouldn't have been happy if you had ended up with somebody that wasn't Jewish?
They would have expected that she would convert, or it just would have been like a point of contention, probably.
Yeah.
Have you been to Israel, Elon?
Yeah, I've been there like 5 times. Most recently, about 1 year ago, my friend got married there. So that was my first time back since like 2008. And that was the first time going like as an adult and not on a group trip, like as, for birthright or whatever.
Right.
So it was really cool. It was just so much fun to be there.
What was the mood like over there?
It's very fun, and Tel Aviv is just like all nightlife and partying, and it's just like a super fun cosmopolitan kind of city. And then Jerusalem is laid back because not laid back, but there's no nightlife. So when you're in Jerusalem, we spent like 3 nights in Jerusalem. It's like the city just kind of just shuts down unless like the certain few bars that are like open.
Right.
But everything feels safe when you're there. I know it all seems dangerous, but as long as you don't, I don't know, go into Ramallah, I think you're okay.
As long as you don't go and kick a Palestinian out of their land, you'll be okay. We talk a lot about anti-Semitism. Elon, have you ever experienced any anti-Semitism?
Yeah, I guess so. I went to public school my whole life, so I was pretty much the only Jewish kid in my class until like 6th grade. And then in junior high, maybe there were a few more Jews peppered in. I wouldn't say too much of it was like hard anti-Semitism. It was more like people who just kind of didn't understand and would like kind of make fun of Jewish things. Some of them didn't even know that I was Jewish necessarily, so they'd be like, "Oh, do you know that teacher so-and-so wears a wig?" And I would be like, "What?" Crazy.
Oh, did you like kind of like pretend to be ignorant towards Judaism or not kind of be so forthcoming about being Jewish because you didn't want to face their anti-Semitism or their picking on you, their bullying?
I would pick and choose. Everyone in my class knew I was Jewish, and especially if it was let's say for Christmas they would be doing a thing like arts and crafts, making a little Santa or a Christmas tree. The teacher would always have to give me a menorah to do instead. My parents made it clear, and the teachers were all Jewish in the school, so they got it. I was the Jewish kid, and my parents didn't want some Santa thing; they wanted a menorah. So there would always be for a Jewish holiday, I would get my own little arts and crafts project that was a little bit different.
That's almost sad. Elon, you have to go sit at that other table. You could only use these supplies.
Yeah, it was exactly that. In 1st grade, I was at a separate table from everyone else, and they were all making these small Christmas trees with construction paper, and I had this gigantic menorah. To make up for their guilt, they gave me a really, really big project to do. And the other kids would come over and be like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's not for you."
I just thought of a terrible joke. You were in art classes, and the teacher said, "You have to draw inside the lines." It's like, why? Israel doesn't.
Yeah, I wasn't that politically active.
Well, did you feel like you were I just want to make the tree like everybody else, or were you proud and happy to be able to make your own thing that represented more of you and your family and your culture and tradition?
I mean, I was proud of it, but yeah, it doesn't feel good to always be different in those kind of ways. And yeah, I don't know. I just remember weird things. I remember on a school trip one time we were on the bus going to the zoo or whatever it was, and all the kids, I guess they all went to the same church, a lot of them, so they started singing some random Jesus song that they all knew, and I was trying to play along. I thought it was it's a popular song, we're all singing, so I tried to pick it up, and I was kind of singing along until I got to the Jesus chorus. And then I felt so guilty that I was inadvertently singing a Jesus song. That guilt, for years, I was I can't believe I was just singing along with this Christian song that I didn't know was a Christian song.
Wow, really? It stuck with you for years. It stuck with you for years.
Yeah.
It's funny that
right
if those kids had started to sing, "Let My People Go," one of our spirituals, the chances are that Jesus would forgive them.
Yeah, that's common ground. That's what I'm hoping. In today's society, I think we should all be singing those songs and not songs that divide us. On Passover every year, my dad sings "Let My People Go."
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he puts on a really deep, deep voice and goes for it.
He takes it pretty seriously?
Yeah. Well, we all laugh at it. It's semi-serious.
One of the big set pieces at your Seder.
Yeah. He's really good. Also, like, for Hanukkah, he has, for that song Ma'atzur, like, he has, like, a rock version that he knows, so we'll make him sing the rock version.
Right.
Which he has, like, on some old, like, Jewish record from the 80s from, like, this group called the Brothers Zim or the Cousins Zim. Maybe Jonathan knows these people.
I don't. I only know Schlock Rock and Uncle Moishi.
Yeah.
Well, you never heard of...
It's in that vein, I guess.
I've also heard of Louis Bagel. He recorded the hit Matzah Number 5. Well,
wait, was that the bad joke? Was that the bad joke you were thinking about, or was it a different one, Jordan?
They all sort of bleed together. It's my running series of terrible jokes.
They all bleed together like the women at a mikveh.
Oh, yes! Wow. Elon for the slam dunk right there.
Indeed.
We like to ask all our guests a couple questions to close out. So, Elon, what is your favorite Jewish food?
I like kasha.
Kasha?
Kasha, okay. What in particular do you like about it?
I like the way it feels in my mouth.
Yeah, the texture.
Yeah. And not always with the little bow tie noodles are fun. Everyone does that. But I kind of like it without the noodles. Just kind of like straight up kasha. It's really great.
Huh, all right.
Did you ever get a kasha knish at Yonah Shimmel's?
Not at Yonah Shimmel's. I have had it before. My mom makes them sometimes from scratch. So those are great.
Oh, wow. Sounds good. Who is your favorite Jew of all time?
Oh, gosh. I immediately go towards, like, athletes for some reason, which is so stupid because there's not a lot to choose from.
Because there's, like, 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay.
I like Hank Greenberg.
Greenberg. Why did you choose him?
Well, everyone goes Sandy Koufax, but I think Hank Greenberg is one of the best sluggers of all time, and he had to deal with a lot of anti-Semitism in his playing days.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Underrated, but Hall of Famer and fantastic player.
Jonathan doesn't know from any sports figures.
Oh, okay. I shouldn't have gone sports. I should have gone.
Hey, we're asking what you like, not what you think I'm gonna like.
I thought we were playing this game show where I guess what Jonathan's answer is.
Maybe we should change it up, and that should be the new thing. What do you think Jonathan likes? No. What's your favorite Jewish holiday, Lon?
I like Passover.
Is it because of your dad's rendition of "Let My People Go"?
Yeah, that helps for sure. I'm a big fan of matzah. I'm a big fan of dry Jewish food. So I really enjoy it because in my normal life I keep like kosher style still. I don't like eat pork and shellfish and all that, but I'll eat stuff that's not kosher. But for Passover, I try to like really stick to it even more. And so I kind of like this like challenge of like for these 8 days I got to do something that's a little bit harder.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wow. All right, so you kind of keep it kosher style. That's very interesting.
So it's more than it's more than just the Seder. You sort of connect to that week of giving you not just a challenge, but a thing that helps connect you to the religious part of it.
Yeah, although I'll say we've never been to shul on Passover. I know that's a thing. We've never done that. It's only been Seder and then just eating certain things. So it's kind of weird. Like it connects me, but I'm not going that extra mile of actually just like walking down the block,
right, and
going to services.
Even though it's only.
But you're not having any chametz. You're not eating chametz.
No chametz.
No chametz. Chametz is bread for our Gentile listeners.
Jonathan likes the matzah, the homemade matzah, like the circular ones,
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no. That's all.
Shmura
matzah.
matzah.
Shmura matzah.
Shmura matzah is where it's at.
It's so much better than the other stuff. It shouldn't even be called the same food.
I know. The other stuff I just call Jew crackers.
I call
Elon, is there anything you call them what? I'm sorry?
Body of Christ.
Is there anything you'd like to plug, Elon?
Yeah, people can check out my Instagram at Elonstagram. I got these fun videos on there and dumb stuff. And find me on Twitter at Elon You So Crazy.
Nice. Yeah, you've been putting up a lot of videos. You were starting like you were doing comedy from your balcony, and now you're. I've seen you on a bunch of park shows as well. You've been out there. Yeah,
I've been doing the park shows. I've been for months of staying indoors. It was nice to go outside and see if these new terrible quarantine jokes work amongst people, and hit or miss.
Yeah,
but the shows are fun, really fun.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Elon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Our pleasure, Elon. Check out Elon on social media, everybody.
All righty. Well, thank you to Elon Altman for coming on the show.
Yes, and thanks to everybody for listening. If you haven't already given us a 5-star rating on iTunes, then you're not doing a mitzvah. And you should follow us across all social media at American Jew Podcast, and follow me on all social media at Jonathan Randall.
You can find me at Beatnik Nudnik. Thanks for 75 episodes, guys. See you next time.